Hey, how are you guys doing?
So good. How are you doing?
Absolutely fantastic, man. It's a brand new week. I can feel spring in the air, and you're on GSN, and I just can't believe that. Here we go, and I love the energy you bring to this show, dude.
Oh, thank you. It's a very easy show to get excited about.
It is, because I'll tell you this is one of the things that my grandmother used to teach me. If you can't play along with those that are playing the games on TV, I'm not watching it. And man, you easily get into Switch.
That's really great. I mean, that's exactly what the show is supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be yelling at the TV. We're like shouting out your answers. I've been doing some watch parties with some groups, and I tell them at the beginning, I'm like, listen, if you know it, yell it out. Let's get into this. Let's have a good time. I was on the show and I forget half the answers, so I yell them out and get them wrong. I don't even care. Let's have a good time. Let's enjoy this.
I was going to ask you if you participated with any focus groups and stuff like that, because your connection to the contestants as well as the viewers, you're spot on, dude. I mean, you're at two different levels of play at the same time.
Oh my goodness! I wish I knew what I was doing, because although then it might disappear. No, I love the show. I love people, and I love the interaction with people. I can understand innately that excitement and the nerves that could happen when the camera comes on and the lights are pointed at you and you're in this foreign little spot, but you're going to play a game, right? And if you're there, you love game shows. And if you're watching, if you're tuning in because you love game shows. Yeah. And there's a very distinct part of our population, our audience in the world, that's what we love. And I love tapping into that with people, because the more I thought, as I was starting the job and preparing for it, I really reconnected with my love of game shows. I remember, when my wife was pregnant with our first kid, it's like every night we found ourselves watching game shows, and we're like, wait, does this make us old? Yep. It's like, no, we're mature. We're evolving in the right direction. And even as a kid, that day off of school, you'd watch The Price is Right, and grandma would make you a bologna sandwich. And, you just have these because they're there every day, right? We're on every weeknight, and you can create this routine with them. And they, you welcome the people into your house, and it becomes a safe space, and it's just such a blast. And I think I didn't even realize how much I was going to get into it.
Yeah. My wife and I have talked about this so many times about Switch on GSN, and that is that this is like having a board game and you're watching it on TV. I don't have to go into the other room to go get that game and set up the board. You guys are doing it for me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And that's the goal, right? To feel like you're in on the game as well. And I think that the nature of the questions they're very broad, right? So if you can get something that's in your wheelhouse, but then there's something you know nothing about, right? It's quite a display, and you're not choosing it; it just comes at you. But because there's three options to choose from, you feel like you can get it. You got a shot.
Do you play the game right along with them? When you set up the question, the other side of your personality's got to be, how would I answer this?
Oh yeah. There's so many times because I'll be quietly thinking, because I read through the questions mostly beforehand for pronunciation. So I don't screw up some names, which I still end up doing anyway. And, and I'll forget the answers. And so during the game, I'll think, and you'll see me sometimes going, wait, what? And I'm trying to figure it out just the same. And you do. And I'll have moments where I'm super excited. And I think because I knew it. I was watching back an episode, and I was like overly excited in the middle of the game, like, yes, you did it. Yeah. And I think in my head, I was like, oh, that's because I knew that one.
Oh, no.
I was very proud of myself. Yeah.
So do you have one of those moments so that, do you meet the contestants beforehand? Because I would always be in that mode of, oh my God, when they come out and they see who I am because of what I have done with my career, they might look at you and go, and become stunned because of the stardom that you've been a part of.
Well, you know what? We do 6 shows a day.
Oh, wow.
And in between shows, I'm normally in the back going over the questions or going over stuff with the producers. And I don't meet them until right before. And I literally might get a minute. And I take that minute to walk by each one, shake a hand if they want to, and say their name, just so I'm pronouncing their name correctly. But every once in a while on breaks, we'll get somebody, and it's typically just the most adorable person in the world, who'll lean over and she's like, you on Chicago Fire? and I'm like, oh, and they've been waiting to say it the whole time. And it's just the cutest, absolutely cutest thing. But, I think that, I've been that guy on TV. You just it's more like that guy. It's there's not a level of fame where you're like, oh, The Rock just walked in. It's like, oh, it's that guy from that show. And within 2 minutes, we're playing the game, and that's all out the window.
Well, I've always thought of you as being like the Brian Dennehy of this generation when it comes to television and the things that you do, because you tend to have this incredible way of slipping into these roles that we attach ourselves to.
Wow. Anytime my name would be in the same sentence with Brian Dennehy, I just feel like I won something. I mean, he was one of the greats. Yeah. And, as an actor, it's funny because, I've got a few things coming out and I'm going to do something here soon that are so wildly different than being the host of Switch that in my head was the first time I'm like, wow, I'm really starting to build an array of stuff, right? You can, and it takes a long time to get there, but it was the first moment I'm like, wow, and especially being the game show host, that adds an element to what I'm doing professionally and creatively that I never expected. And when you balance that against some of the stuff I've been allowed to do up to this point and what I'm about to go do, the way they juxtapose against each other is really fascinating, and I'm becoming very proud of it. I appreciate you even bringing it up, and I just hope I get another 20, 30 years to keep going.
To be the host of the show, this is going to be entertainer to entertainer here, because I was up for Casey Kasem when they replaced him in 1987. And the thing about it is, though, is that when I did the audition, I felt like I sounded like him. So who are you trying not to be when you're host?
I was doing the show, I was like, well, how would Harrison Ford do this? Right? I mean, like, this would be a perfect moment to, like, what would he do here? And you can't help it because you attach yourself to performances and things that you relate to. And our whole goal is truth. And so it has to be such a part of you for it to be authentic. And so as a host, luckily, I have such little experience, and I am my personality seems so different than some of the hosts that I would watch, that there's nothing going through my mind right there. My whole point was, when I'm doing it, I want the audience to be having as much fun as I'm having. Yeah. And I want the contestants to be enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying it. And so my whole MO, and it's been very easy to achieve, is to have a really, really good time.
Don't you think you're also inviting men to explore wearing a great suit? Because, I mean, you've got some fashion on this show.
Totally. And you know what? I just don't know if we have enough of that these days.
You're right.
No, it's great. And I really love that they put me in a suit and a tie. It feels very traditional. When we were watching back so this show is from a European format. Wow. And I was looking at some of, I think it was in Belgium or maybe it was Holland. I couldn't understand it, but it was phenomenal. It was great. But they were very relaxed. It was sweaters and jeans and polos. And I love that we chose to go with suits and ties and have that little elevated feeling of it, because it feels a little old fashioned. You know what I mean? It feels like you're inviting this person into your home and these people, and there's a little standard there. And I'm really glad that that's a choice we took, because I think if it was sweaters and more casual, it would lose a little of that traditional game show feel.
Yeah, because I'm glad that you're doing the classy feel, because of WeTV and Antenna TV and even Game Show Network and stuff like that, we've been binge watching the classic ones, and then all of a sudden we find something like Switch and we're going, oh, this fits right into what I've been watching.
That's great. That makes me very happy, because the same when I was doing any research, it was watching the old ones. I mean, my whole family fell in love with Richard Dawson all over again, because we found the old Family Feud, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what we watched every night. I love it. And it becomes timeless. Mm-hmm. So if we were to go casual, what seems casual now may look ridiculous in 30 years. And I hope my grandkids are catching reruns of this show or maybe I'm still doing it. And I'm in this traditional classy, elevated feel. And so I think that it fits the timelessness of it.
Well, the element of emotion is in this show because there are some people, you know how they are. They like to tune in to see people lose, to get kicked off. And there are people that want to see the big victory as well. And then you get disappointed because they didn't win the big money. I mean, everything involved. And dude, you're in the center ring. That's you. That's in that.
That's the funnest part for me, right? Because I've got to make all of this go. I'm helping people move. I'm helping them navigate. I'm helping them relax. And at the same time, kind of pushing the show forward. So we go through each round and we get to each point and we set up a little history of everyone. You know, one of the things that I was told right in the beginning was like, really know the game, like know the rules so you don't have to think about it. And then you can start to enjoy, you know, what people are saying to you. And then we can have callbacks and we'll have a contestant who will identify themselves in a certain way and you can play with it as you go. And the audience grasps onto that. And I feel like that that heightens the enjoyment for all of us.
Did you at any time do any radio or anything? And the reason why I bring that up is because you've got theater of the mind down very well. And theater of the mind means that you know who's viewing. It's not just about those that are in front of you.
That's funny you say that because I'm a radio and podcast guy. That's how I spend a lot of time on the airplanes and in the cars. And no, but I have not. I do appreciate what you're saying though, because what we're doing is for that grander audience. And I think as a kid, I was called Jeffy Jet in his TV set. I mean, I understand what it is like to be the audience and how important that was to me. And I remember reading about Tom Cruise at one point too, like his whole point of view is from the audience. So I think he's one of our greatest actors. Definitely one of our greatest movie stars. And he's always thinking of the audience. Mm-hmm. And I think he heightens drama where there's none. And I've always made it a goal of myself. If there happens to be no drama, let's heighten something. But doing it for the audience, because I know they're watching, because that used to be me, and it still is.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, when you bring up Tom Cruise, now you put me in a different level of play because Tom does his own stunts. Do you ever put yourself in a position where you go, I'm going to take a chance because Tom Cruise would do it? Yeah?
I did an action show. It was called Agent X. And I got to do a fair amount of the stunts. I went out a month and a half early to choreograph the fight scenes for this show. And I wanted the stunt coordinator to trust me as much as he possibly could. I was an athlete. I keep myself fit. And in my mind, because the legend that is Tom Cruise, I wanted to get to do as much as I possibly could. And there was a time where I'm on a moving train and there was a big balloon that I'm supposed to jump into down below. Now, granted, the train's going 5 miles an hour. It looks like it's going 50, but I'm standing on the edge of this train. I'm going, what are you doing? This is the dumbest. There's a perfectly healthy stuntman standing behind you. This is the dumbest thing you could ever say. But I had run my mouth long enough. I was like, oh crap, I got to do it. And I did. I survived. It was amazing. Wow. But just because he does, people like him set a standard. I believe not just myself, everybody out there is trying to match it.
The green room. A lot of listeners, I wish they could spend more time with us as we go through the preparation before a performance. And what I mean by the green room is that what it's like to go from the clothing that we arrive in to the clothing when you put on that jersey and all of a sudden you become Jeff of Switch. I mean, there really is a personality change. It is to your point. I always love when I leave the show or any show, that I'm doing, and you go and you get in your car and you got your hat on backwards, you're in a t-shirt and jeans, and especially with this, I've been wearing a suit and I've been leading the circus for 14 hours, and all of a sudden I'm hopping in the rental car with my hat on backwards and a cup of coffee, and they'll double take. They're like, wait, who's that? Completely different person. And it really, as when you're getting into the jersey, when you're getting into the costume, you're building this character and you build it from the heels up. And you really do change the way you walk, the way you move. Yes. I remember the first acting job where I physically felt myself walk different. And it wasn't anything that I was doing consciously. It was just like I had built so much into this character, into the process, that I was like, I walk differently.
And you really do, you change. And then when you come off of it, they don't recognize even your body language.
Speaking of that, the more and more that you do with acting as well as the game show, you're now becoming a book. You're not just a paragraph anymore. You're not just a mention in a magazine. You've got a journey here. Are you documenting any of this?
It's amazing you say that. I have, for probably 7 years now, really been taking a deep dive into Stoic philosophy, and a huge portion of Stoicism is journaling. And so I write every single day, and I have, for every job, I have a certain notebook that goes with each gig. And so and it's funny you say book. I'm in my office, I'm looking at the shelf, and the shelf is getting full. And, and I'm working on a new book right now, and it's filled with all my ideas and wishes and dreams and everything for the job. And then I have a personal one where I document my day. Every morning I get up and go through what happened the day before. And it has become incredibly personally valuable. Just like, wow. Because I'll open every once in a while and go, what was I thinking this day, 3 years ago? And to have all of that is precious to me, because it really enlivens the memories, and enriches the experience. And now I truly can remember what I was doing.
So now the way you speak, are you a student of Julia Cameron's The Artist Way?
No, I'm not as familiar. I know what you're talking about, but my journey, especially as an actor, I've chosen a couple of mentors through books.
Man,
I studied with Esper in New York when I was there, and he's since left us, but he's got 2 phenomenal books, and then I've got a David Mamet book that, in terms of my acting, those are my Bibles.
Yep.
And then when I balance my studies as a Stoic, as it were, I'm reading a lot, whatever Ryan Holiday is writing, because he's the best modern day filter of what old Stoicism was. And he has, dissolved it in a way for a guy like me to understand. And that's normally where my nose is, those styles of books.
Daily writers, we get ink on our fingers, and I got to tell you, I kind of laughed at King Charles when he got ink on his fingers, because I'm going, I live that every day. Come on, dude.
I hate to admit, but I know exactly the video you're talking about. He's signing the book, and there's like a drop of ink, and I'm like, buddy, listen, the whole heel of my hand looks like I'm a painter. You know what's really great about that too is I have 3 kids, and we were doing a show, and we were in Europe, and I took everybody with me for 3 months, and I was like, you guys, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, write down every day we're going to sit down, we're going to write about what happened. And they can look back now, and they've become journalers. They're teenagers, so they're not like they're not as religious about it as I am, but they're documenting their thoughts. For them to pick that up as I have learned it is really, really satisfying, because you're like, okay, now we're creating some length here. Like you said, we're creating a journey. It's just not moment to moment. There's something we're building on, and we can learn from this and get better. And it works for me. The fact that it's trickling into my kids' lives is really, really, really satisfying.
Oh, my God. We got to know Jeff today from Switch, from GSN. Dude, I love where your heart is. I cannot wait to talk to you again in the future, where we put all focus on bringing those words forward, because it's how the energy is moving through you, and you believe in that.
Listen, Arrow, the pleasure was mine. This was really great. I can't wait to do it again.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
You as well. Thank you.